Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the No Name Pod. I'm joined by my good friend Wasted once again. Very excited to have him. I've noticed that in the last couple episodes that we've just gotten right into it. So I'm going to take a couple minutes here to talk about what we're going to talk about today, if that makes any sense. So we're gonna delve into the conspiracy world of airplanes and some strange stories that involve some celebrities. And of course, we're going to talk about that woman that had that outbreak on the plane this week and what that all means and how it's linked to the Illuminati and Qantas Airways and all that stuff. So we're going to talk about, we have a lot of stuff lined up to be talking about this week. So stay tuned and stay with us because we're going to go on a ride here and it's going to be a lot of fun. But first, I'd like to introduce my good friend Wasted. Wasted, it's always a pleasure to chat with you. Welcome back, and how you doing?
Yeah, I've got a beer. I'm all right.
Perfect. It's been a long time since I've had a beer, Wasted. A long time. We're approaching probably 18 months now, and where I've been completely sober. It's a weird feeling.
That's insanity. Why would you do that?
I don't know. It's complete insanity, actually. It's something I never thought I'd do, but here I am.
Yeah, I think I've taken a break now and again, and you just sort of forget about it after a month, and then you realize you don't really need to. But it's nice to not give a shit like all the time.
Yeah, it would be nice.
You just like don't care.
Yeah. I mean, it would be nice to crack a beer once in a while too. But I think I'm with you on that. You just get to a point where you everything that you associated doing with beers or alcohol or whatever, they slowly kind of fade away, and then you just find other things to take up. Like I drink coffee now. That's my thing. I don't know. I never drank this much coffee in my life, and all of a sudden I'm drinking coffee more and more every day. But I like it.
Yeah, I'm not even sure how much. I mean, unless you're drinking quite a lot, then you're not really getting much of an effect in a way. Like, but why can't you just have one like ice cold like beer?
I don't know. I just stopped.
Mean if you do have it, you'll just like end up in a motel with a bottle of whiskey.
I think I was heading down that road, so I don't think I want to visit that again. But I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I wasn't headed. I don't know. I'm making stuff up. Basically,
maybe I'm just like already in the motel. I've got nowhere else to go.
Well, I think it was also too because I got young boys at home, young children at home, and waking up with a hangover with them just fucking sucked. So I'll wait till they're older till I start drinking again. But let's get right into it. I want to touch on just briefly. We're not going to get too much into this because the story's kind of old now and it's kind of been talked out a little bit. But I do want to talk about the Titan submarine that went down. It's interesting. From the stories of the tapping that was supposedly heard to the Navy knowing hours into the submarine's voyage that it had imploded. There's so many conflicting stories. There's so many different scenarios. It's hard to believe which one is actually true. And the question I really have, and I know a lot of people answer it the same way, but the question I have is, if the Navy knew that it had imploded, why didn't they tell anybody? And yeah, I know that people are going to say, well, they didn't confirm it, but they had enough evidence to make a reasonable decision that they didn't have to go on this media frenzy saying that they were hearing tapping when, I mean, if they knew it wasn't there, they couldn't have been hearing tapping. So something was going on there. What do you think?
Well, the stuff that I sort of heard or read online was that it's basically they're using that story it came out around the same time as the, remember Biden got like accused or something about taking bribes of like $5 million from Ukraine or China or something. They were saying that they were using that, they delayed that, telling that story like a week, so it would be like front page news to cover stuff up.
There was also, didn't Hunter Biden, he was arrested and charged, and the charges were ultimately dropped, or not. I don't want to say dropped because I don't know, but they went away, and that was also in the days that the submarine was supposedly happening, right?
Yeah, so the media kind of were instructed to like run with that story of this sub because it grabbed all the attention.
That's,
and there was a lot of other spin-off stories from it. There was that, the son of one of the guys that died was at some concert, wasn't he? Blink 182 concert, and he was like dancing around, and everybody was like online. They were focusing on this story, like the Cardi B or the other one. She was like having a go at him. Like his dad had just blown up on in this sub, and he was out enjoying his life.
Oh, really? I didn't hear that one.
Yeah. That was all on Twitter and stuff.
Is there a possibility that he didn't know his father was dead yet?
No, he knew, but he was his stepson. So, and he's also his dad was like a billionaire. So
right,
it's like what he's supposed to do, just stay at home and cry on his own. He just went out with his friends, I suppose.
Everybody grieves differently, right? I wouldn't put too much stock into that one. It is peculiar, I would say, but everybody grieves differently, and whatever. It's a strange story all around. I think the focus, at least for me, is definitely on the whole wagging the dog, right? Remember that movie with Dustin Hoffman there? Like what the media is telling you to watch this when in reality this is happening. So, but I mean, it's like I said, it's played out and it's already in the past. And
in a sort of broader way, it's kind of like it's all about risk. Like billionaires like Richard Branson, whatever you're doing in life, there's going to be an element of risk. So once they've solved all the other kind of risks, they find another risk to take, because that's basically what everything's about, really.
Right.
Find some excitement. So Richard Branson used to fly those hot air balloons across the world, didn't he?
Remember that?
Really died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember that? That was that was interesting.
The details now. Yeah, I can't remember the exact details. Was his balloon off course and over in the sea and lost or something?
I think it was something like that. Yeah, I think it was something like that. I definitely remember him having a scare and definitely remember him almost dying and flying the balloons. So that's fun. He's a bit of an eccentric guy too. He owns Virgin, right?
Yeah.
Virgin.
He's owned all different kinds of. Virgin Airways is the one that he, and he also had Virgin Records, which he started in London, didn't he? In like a little store on his own, like a little business he built up. I think that's how he started. And then he did Airways. He also had Virgin Cola in the UK. I don't know if you ever heard that. About that?
No.
He used to have big stacks of Virgin Cola. He also has Virgin radio station in the UK anyway.
Yeah, there's Virgin Radio.
Awesome.
Yeah, there's Virgin Radios in Canada here. And we actually have a station here. I believe so. Yeah.
Virgin Galactic.
That's right. Now maybe I'm getting him confused with somebody else, but didn't he have his own island?
I think he does have. But recently after COVID, he's been scaling back a lot of his things. I think he may have sold his airline because it was costing him too much money through COVID, and he's also like kind of downsized everything. I think he does still have the island. I believe it's called Necker Island. Yeah, and he uses it for a lot of charity stuff, doesn't it? Is it like in Africa or off the coast of Africa or something?
The British Virgin Islands.
Yeah.
So
But having an island is always like a dodgy look.
I'd say so, man. Like after,
Like,
yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to look at private islands the same way as I mean,
yeah.
a lot of bad shit's happening.
The Biden family also has an island very close to Epstein's Island.
Oh, I believe that 100%. Hey, speaking of Biden, this is not something we prepped in the show, but you heard about the cocaine found at the White House, right?
Yeah.
What a great story.
That's probably Hunter Biden.
Well, you'd have to think, right? I mean,
what cocaine addict leaves their coke?
I know, nobody. Yeah, nobody. And who has access to the White House, right?
Yeah, Hunter Biden.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't they think it was like anthrax or something, and they were calling in like the hazmat people to take care of it?
Yeah, and they also, they didn't they accuse of there was some kind of construction or cleaning work going on in there, and they were sort of saying that it was probably one of them, one of the workers or something.
It must be
unbelievable that you would leave the coke behind,
It was found in an entrance between the foyer and the lower level lobby, according to some sources. And I guess that was a heavily traveled area for I don't know if it was the public or just workers or people that are there, but it was a heavily trafficked area. So they're taking the onus off the possibility that it's Hunter Biden, but I think we all know it was Hunter Biden's, right?
Yeah, it's most likely Hunter Biden. You'd have to be crazy to go into the White House through all that security, unless you're really you've connected high up in government. You're just going to go to jail, aren't you?
Well, yeah.
Especially you've got to have some sort of security clearance or something like Hunter Biden. He's completely he's above normal people, isn't he? He's protected by the CIA.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Nobody stops Hunter Biden at the entrance of the White House and says, excuse me, sir. You know what I mean? He's the president's son. He gets a free pass.
And also, he's already been busted for it. So what are they going to do? Bust him again for it? He probably left it there on purpose just to get back at his dad. Because he doesn't really care, does he? Because he's a full laptop of all kinds of crazy smoking crap and smoking crap.
Some of the
smoking crack in an oxygen tent or something.
Yeah, man. Some of the pictures that have supposedly leaked from that laptop are there. You just can't believe what you're looking at, right? It's just what a vile human being that man is.
The worst one is really him with his brother's daughter.
Yeah, man.
And they're virtually naked, and he's doing crack, and then she's looking in the camera.
Yeah.
They're basically taking a shower together or something.
I saw that one. That's your dead brother's daughter. That's fucked up, man.
Why are you making videos of it?
Yeah, well,
why is he making any videos of he's filming everything?
Yeah, he's something wrong there. It's entertainment. You know what I mean? I don't even know if it's real. It's just entertainment at this point. What can you believe anymore? Because this is it's all fantasy. You know do you know what I mean? I don't think I'm articulating myself very well, but I'm trying to get a point across. I don't think I'm really making my point. It's laughable. It's a parody. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think they do. There was a theory that they do all this stuff on purpose, a bit like making Kamala Harris a vice president. They're just sort of rubbing it in your faces. They're basically saying you can't do anything about this. We can do whatever we want. Which, he's protected, isn't he? Because while Biden is president, he's protected. So
right.
He's basically saying I don't care. And it's kind of like a distraction story, isn't it? But it's also kind of to make you feel like you've got that makes people just think, well, we've got no control. Like, it's almost like fear. Like, if they can do that, what could they do to me?
Fair enough.
You know,
It's
if they can
fair
get
enough.
away with that, then they must have some kind of power that we cannot like fight back against. But I think it is him just flying around the world, getting paid, and then taking the money back. And then he's also pissed. He's like, from all the laptop stuff, he's also really pissed off with the rest of the family, because he's the only one that makes money for the family, and he gives all the money to the other members of the family, and they never thank him or anything. So he's just like raging in this like hotel room with all these hookers and prostitutes, and just saying, I don't give a fuck, because you can't. He's actually got a security team of CIA people with him at the time that he's doing all that stuff. He's not like on his.
Do you think they're in the room with him?
Well, they're guarding the door. They're around. There's a security team. And then in one of those laptop videos, he's also a wigger. Like he's like rapping, like with his buddy online, on the phone call. They're on doing like a Skype call or something, and he's like rapping, and they're talking like wiggers. Like he thinks that he's a rapper or something. So he's just.
That's great. Wow, I didn't know that one. I gotta look for that one, because
it's not the highest. It's not the worst thing he's ever done, but it's one of the funniest videos. Because he talks like he's a sort of gangster. And they're listening to like crazy rap.
Imagine trying to act like you're gangsta and tough and hard when your dad is the president of the United States.
Yeah, they're just living in a crazy bubble.
It's just ridiculous, man. Oh well, that's fun. But
he's
moving
not
on.
The worst one. Okay.
No, go on.
No, I was just saying, there's like his sisters and stuff. They're almost like worse than he is. They're also in and out of rehab.
I
so
don't
they're
know.
all like the same.
I don't know much about the family, to be honest.
Like one of the I think it's actually his cousin or something. I can't remember. But a couple of the girls are also kind of crazy, and they're in the videos with him. You know?
Oh fuck.
I think they're all just like, I think they come across as a little bit like spoiled, and they sort of want to be like the Kardashians. They're in politics.
Yeah, that could be. That could be. They're kind of like the Kentucky Kardashians. Well, that was kind of like the Duck Hunters there. Is that what they were called? Duck Dynasty. Remember those guys with the beards?
Oh, Duck Dynasty. Oh, yeah, the guys with the beards. The ZZ Top beards, and they're just blasting ducks out of the sky.
Those guys were great. This was a good show. That was like the Kardashians for rednecks, but yeah. Moving on. Let's talk about the story that's in the news this week, which as soon as it happened, I was instantly drawn into it, because like stuff like this doesn't happen very often, and it provided a lot of entertainment for me. The lady on the plane who claims that the man that she was sitting with wasn't a real man and demanded to get off the plane. You must know about this. You've heard of it, right?
Yeah.
So
she just like got off the plane. She demanded like hysterically to get off the plane because the person next to her wasn't real.
Yeah. So the video, it's a short video. She walks up the aisle of the plane, and she's apparently the plane hasn't. They're still on the tarmac. They haven't even hit the runway yet. They're still waiting to be taxied, and she walks up the aisle of the airplane, and she's not really screaming, and she's not really out of control. But when I saw the video for the first time, at least, it looked to me like she was genuinely scared of something. She wanted off the plane, and somebody's filming her, obviously, and she stops, and she's like, I don't know who that is, but that man back there is not real. And it's at that point, it's just like, it's pure gold comedy, because you can see everybody on the plane just like look back at this man that she's pointing at to see if he's real, right? It's like, so it's what a great little clip. But of course, me being me, I spent a lot of time going on the searching for it and finding all these conspiracy theories, and it leads into a lot of stuff. unironically, and or unsurprisingly, I should say. So, what are your thoughts on it? Like this, like there's people coming out now that, somebody said he was the man in the green hoodie, and other people are coming out saying that she was drunk, which I don't really like that excuse, but other people are saying that, she was talking to somebody and their eyes blinked sideways. So I want to get what you think about it, Wasted.
I thought it was funny that when everybody, she said that guy there is not real, and everybody turned back, and then I don't know if it was in the comments or somebody on the plane said, "You mean that motherfucker there?" And there's basically just a black guy. It's like a black guy. So I was just like, did you just freak out because he had some kind of like, he's like a voodoo guy, and he's got some weird like, what's that thing where they cut up chickens? Santa Maria.
Santa Maria, yeah, okay.
Somebody like that. If you sit next to somebody like that on a plane, like for 12 hours, do you really want to sit next to somebody who's covered in like chicken blood or something? Well, he could have just smelled really bad.
It could have been anything, man. Like there was a story saying that one of the theories I heard was that this is going on with that she was drunk and she had some ear pods in, and one of them fell out. Of course, because it's the United States and everybody's racist in the United States, she accused the black man sitting beside her of stealing her ear pod, and that's when she freaked out and got up. And I mean, the story doesn't make that theory doesn't make sense to me. It's dumb, and I think it's just playing on the political climate that's happening right now. But of course, blame the black guy, right? Like, stupid.
Yeah, but she was also saying more than that. She was saying that if you stay on this plane, you're all going to die, sort of thing. Yeah. I'm not staying on this because she suspected him of like something, and maybe she just freaked out. Maybe she saw he had like some, I don't know, what people often do that in the airport. They see something, don't they? And then they think it's like a terrorist attack.
Yeah.
But what are the sort of like Illuminati links to it? Is there anything about like sort of like I saw this story when I was looking for it. It was a few years ago. Qantas Airlines had that. They had a picture where they had like the sign of the Illuminati on some of the like engines on the wings of the plane, and they had to explain it, like what it was.
What was it ever determined? Was it ever determined whether or not it was photoshopped? Because I'm looking at the picture, and it's crazy because on the jets they have, on one side they have the Illuminati symbol, and on the other side they have the Freemasonry symbol, right?
Then it's in yellow as well. It's very, very clear. So it's probably photoshopped. It's just that's what when I like try to look for some sort of like a conspiracy theories about that flight, that story, that woman. That's what I found. But I also thought because it's such a sort of mysterious story, it made me think about the sub story as well, and whether it's another one of like she really looks like she's put together. She's put together, isn't she? She's not a raving. She doesn't look like a crazy person dressed in rags.
No,
she's dressed like in serious kind of flight business wear. Doesn't look like she'd be that crazy. So I just wonder if she's like an actor who's like they're creating this story to sort of after the sub story dies, they've got another one of these crazy stories that's going viral to kind of cover up what's going on in all the other stuff.
So one thing I heard, she was making the sign she was making the Baphomet sign.
Okay,
and that's something tied into the Knights Templar and Satan. So basically when she stops at the front of the plane and turns around, and basically when she says to everybody that you're all going to think of this, the way she's holding her fingers, like she has two fingers on her left hand and they're pointing up, and two fingers on her left hand and they're pointing down. That's the Baphomet. I hope I'm saying that right. I don't know if I am.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Crowley thing.
Exactly. It's a depiction of a sabbatic goat usually is associated with that too, and of course that's all in the the occult symbolism, and Aleister Crowley, Jack Parsons, all of those, right? So is she an Illuminati operative? Is she Illuminati confirmed? You know what I mean? Like, is it a false flag? What was she doing? So there's definitely questions, and to your point too, like, is she an actress, right?
That's what I mean. It sounds like if she's making symbols with her hands, it's either that she's part of some satanic cult, but it's also possible that it's a kind of contrived, or like it's a setup, create a story. Because that's what the comments I read under like one of the stories was. They were saying that she got through security, everybody deplaned, and then she got through security very easily to when she got off the plane. She wasn't arrested, she wasn't questioned, she just went straight through.
Yeah, and then she tried,
and they didn't find out what the reason either. She didn't give a reason. Nobody really got to the bottom of the reason why.
Crazy.
She got what really happened, and then they didn't find out.
Right. She tried to get on. Like once the plane was reboarding, she tried to get on, but she tried to get back on. Yeah, and apparently she was after she tried to get back on with the other passengers, she was detained. That's when she was detained, and according to some people, she has now gone missing since then. Since she was detained, nobody's heard from her. I mean, that could be a number of things, from anywhere that Illuminati has taken her, the CIA has taken her, to she's just embarrassed as to what she did and she's laying low. You know what I mean? There's no way to tell. That's just interesting that she hasn't even come out and made a statement. So, you got to wonder what's going on, right?
Yeah, definitely. That's why I think it's kind of making hand signals that look like the Baphomet, and then also the way that you can get through. If you do anything on a plane, like a very small thing, you're not getting back on the plane. They will basically arrest you on the plane. So
you were saying that this ties into Nicolas Cage somehow?
Oh, I'd already found this Nicolas Cage story before this one came out, but Nicolas Cage had a sort of it's a similar thing where the person on the plane is not real. Like when Nicolas Cage booked a flight, he booked a flight for his child's imaginary friend. So they had like 3 seats maybe. And they had one for Nicolas Cage, one for his son or daughter, and then another seat which was empty, which supposedly had his son, daughter's imaginary friend was sitting there. But when he did actually book the seat.
So was anybody allowed to sit in that seat, or just the imaginary friend?
No, I think that was the point. Yeah.
Wow.
It's for the imaginary friend. So it's a way of like stopping them putting somebody in your row or whatever.
Well, yeah. I mean, the last thing you want is somebody sitting beside you. But do you think he was flying coach? I mean, he was probably flying first class, right? He's known to be an eccentric man that is a little frivolous with his money.
Oh, you mean it could have been? It's probably in first class.
Yeah.
That seems like a more Nicolas Cage style. Just to add another $3,000. That's why he's ended up bankrupt, I think.
That's right,
he was,
man.
Buying wild stuff, wasn't he? Like glass elephants just to put in the front room.
Didn't he buy like a T-Rex skeleton too? Or a skull of a T-Rex for like hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Exactly. I think isn't he like the nephew of Francis Ford Coppola?
Yes.
I'm just saying because Francis Ford Coppola is also very extravagant.
I don't know much about him.
So he's the Apocalypse Now, and he's
even
on. He doesn't spare any. He isn't very frugal with his money. He had Zoetrope after Apocalypse Now and Godfather. He used all that money and he set up the Zoetrope Industries or Zoetrope Film. It was basically like a commune, like in the 60s, 70s, for like artists and stuff. This was like his vision. And he just blew all his money into this company. It's a bit like, the Apple Corp with Beatles.
Right.
A similar thing like that. He set up these really nice, like, studios and it was like free food. He has his own wine company. But he basically bankrupted himself. Whereas like Lucas and the other guys, they were all kind of business minded. He's not. He'll spend all the money. You know, like in the Heart of Darkness documentary.
Right.
He just
He
overspends and just somehow finds a way in chasing his dream. So Nicolas Cage seems a bit like that. Like he's no expense spared. If he wants like a T-Rex head, he just gets it.
Yeah. He once bought a Gulfstream jet so he could travel around privately.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense if you're always flying.
Sure.
But, see, he's lost all that now. So for him, it's not extravagant to just book a seat on a flight for an imaginary friend.
True.
For him, that's just the same kind of characteristic, but on a smaller scale. He didn't buy the entire airline. He just bought a seat.
Yeah, he just bought a seat. He bought some castles in Scotland and Germany. Never set foot in them, but bought some castles, yachts. He bought
Johnny Depp too.
Well, Johnny Depp's another guy. He's got stupid money, right? Where he just doesn't care. But just one more thing. He bought 2 albino king cobras.
He's much more entertaining than Johnny Depp does. Buy cool like stuff and has loads of houses, isn't he? But it's not as wacky as Nicolas Cage.
I heard that Johnny Depp spends $15,000 a month or something on wine.
Yeah, well, I remember that there's a small story from the that book Hollywood Animal by Joe Esterhaus. He wrote Basic Instinct, and a few other movies.
Okay.
And he used to write in the Chateau Marmont hotel.
Right.
And he was always broke, and his like accountant was always hassling him, telling him you don't need to spend this money. But he said you need to live in Hollywood and work. You need $40,000 a day because you need to stay in the Chateau Marmont but I think in that book he told a story about Jack Nicholson and Johnny Depp going for lunch. It was a interview piece where they kind of interviewed each other, and they spent like $100,000 on wine, but they only had like 8 bottles or something.
It's so ridiculous.
Jack Nicholson was just buying like 10 grand bottles of wine to give to Johnny Depp. Sample this one. They didn't really eat that much. They had like some salads or something, but they were just like there talking, doing this interview, and they're drinking this like 20 grand bottles of wine.
Just imagine. Yeah, how good is a $20,000 bottle of wine though? I mean, I've had $1,000 bottle of wine, and I mean, it was good. I don't know if it was, I don't think it lived up to the expectation. Sorry, go on.
I've had expensive ones that actually taste worse than basically Carlo Rossi.
Yeah, no,
I had a Medoc once, which was like quite expensive. I'm not talking like 20 grand. It's something like it's like a 200, 300, 500 bottle.
Yeah.
I just had a sip of it or whatever, but it tasted weird, because it's too oaky or something, or too.
Right.
It wasn't like normal. It wasn't like a fruity wine that blended, which is sweeter. It was very like it's been in a barrel for 10,000 years or something.
Right.
It was kind of like medicine.
I guess it's medicine for some people, Johnny Depp.
I remember somebody like in work, somewhere where I worked, they were talking about this wine. And then when people asked them, why is this, he wanted this wine and it was expensive and he bought it, and he had a wine cellar or something at home, but this was like his big thing. And he bought it and then he, he was talking about it for months, and then he got it and then he drank it or something. And everybody asked him like, so what was so good about this wine? And he just couldn't explain he couldn't say what was good about it really. It was just
other than the price.
It was just like he built it up in his mind, but he couldn't actually tell you even what the flavors were. Maybe he had something really basic, like has these sort of subtle flavors or something. So it's very like subjective, like vague for the price. Just go, I don't know. But I think it's just like if you've got that money, you've got to spend it on something.
Well, yeah. Then it gets to a point where I think you have so much money that it's it's not an issue and will never, ever, ever, ever be an issue, no matter how much you spend, because you simply can't spend what you have because you have so much. And at that point, I think you just try and find the most eccentric, the most, the weirdest, the strangest, whatever it is, thing to eat, drink, or buy, whatever, right? Because at that point, who fucking cares, right?
Yeah, so like you get desensitized too.
Yeah,
I mean, you do that with everything in normal life. So you must, like, you get one thing that's crazy, so then you need to find something crazier than that to excite you.
Exactly.
So, and also, even if you've got, like, say you're worth $500 million or something, that doesn't really change anything. Like, you can't get 500 million out of the bank on one day.
No.
They're not going to give you that. They've got that. It's either in property or in the bank, and the bank is off somewhere else, like in some funneling it through some African bank, laundering it for gun running or something.
For sure.
You can't get that money. And basically, you go to like a 5-star hotel or something. What can you get at the bar? You basically just get a Heineken and some like wheat beer.
Yeah.
You know, wherever you go, you still like basically just a Budweiser or a Heineken.
Yeah.
It's like there's a limit to everything. Wine has got this fake element to it where, it's been like, the process took longer, so therefore it's more expensive. It's still just wine.
Yeah.
I don't know what kind of wine you have, like, sort of, I don't know, like, don't people just step on the grapes with bare feet?
You know what? I don't even know if that's real or not, but probably. I mean, like, probably.
Probably that the old. I think when you go to those like vineyards on a wine tasting holiday or something, they let you do that. It's one of the gimmicks. I don't know if they really need to do that.
I mean, probably at one point, hundreds of years ago, they probably needed to do that, and it was the best, most efficient way to do that. But I'm sure someone has come up with a much more sanitary way to press your grapes, right? But it's the novelty of it, right?
Yeah, like the rustic authenticity in wherever it is, like Sicily or something.
Definitely.
What else are you gonna do?
Yeah. Well, if you go to France, you can try and kill the government.
Those riots are like spilling across the whole of Europe. They're like in Belgium. Man. There's anybody in Belgium knew that kid. But yeah, they're ready to fight.
They're out of control, man. It's France, though, right? Do you? I keep cutting you off there, Wasted. I do apologize.
No, I'm just rambling.
It's France, and do you remember what was it called? The paper Hebdo.
It's Charlie Hebdo.
Charlie Hebdo, yeah. This is going back a number of years now. The very first time that they decided to poke fun at the Prophet Muhammad.
Yeah.
And it was international headlines that they did this, and the world was, nothing had happened in this world. Nothing had happened to like this up until that point, and the whole Muslim community was up in arms. And they vowed revenge on the country of France. I mean, look at it now, man. It's fucking burning to the ground. And they always seem to get attacked, man. I mean, there's a joke in there somewhere about being French and, cowering and not attacking and not retaliating. But, they always seem to get attacked. Stuff always seems to be happening now. I think they cursed themselves with that Charlie Hebdo Prophet Muhammad satire bit.
Yeah. So, there's sort of different elements of it. I don't know what I don't know what these new riots are about, because there was the Yellow Jacket riots as well.
That was last year, yeah.
The gas prices or for farmers or something? But it was something like very, very feisty when it comes to like the right thing, because it's kind of like socialist. It always has a bit like UK.
Yeah.
It has a socialist element to it. People don't accept it when they just say, well, this is our business. We do whatever we want. They're like, that's no, right. The government serves us. You better sort it out. So they do complain, and when something goes, but it seems like there's loads of people ready to riot. They just need an excuse.
At any given time, yeah.
Yeah, a bit like in the U.S. with the Rodney King riots as well.
And George Floyd,
George Floyd.
Yeah.
And in China, like when you go around China, it's like the safest place in the world because the police will, if there's they don't tolerate any kind of riot. Everybody just goes to jail for the rest of their lives, sort of thing. So nobody riots. But people always told me, like I said, there's lots of people here. So I would say that's pretty nice here. Everybody's like seems happy. And they say there's quite a lot of people here who are ready to riot. They're on the edge because they're very poor, and in the summer it gets really, really hot, and they don't have much money. So if there's something small, could trigger them off. But yeah, it doesn't. Because they talk. I remember they have a fake DVD market there for the tourists.
Yeah.
And kind of Westernized. There's Chinese people who are like Western culture, but it's all fake stuff. It's not through the real normal shop. But the Chinese really love that the movie Purge.
Do they really?
The Purge.
Yeah.
They talk about that as if it's like a, I don't know, secret underground, like Fight Club had this sort of like conspiratorial feeling for us or something. Yeah, for them it's the Purge. They think rioting is like an exotic thing that they think that the Purge is like real life in America or something. And they say, do they really do this?
I mean, it's not far off. I mean, let's face it.
It's getting closer and closer where they basically are they're basically saying like, in certain circumstances, go crazy. Like Nancy, is it Nancy Pelosi? Somebody, Kamala Harris maybe. She was bailing like Antifa members out of jail, wasn't she?
I heard that, man.
Burning down buildings and stuff.
Yeah, I heard that.
Because they're poor, they can't afford bail, so we better bail them out.
Man, you see pictures now of like cities, especially in California, like San Francisco. They're just completely overrun now. I don't know how true it is, but you see these videos and pictures, and it's crazy, man. Like the homeless people and the drug addicts have just taken over, and it's scary, man.
I've definitely heard people say that, like Georgia or somewhere, they went somewhere, or Portland or something, that, they saw these riots and stuff on the TV, and they thought when they got there it would be like that, but it's only in certain areas or something.
Right.
And some of these, even those, what was it, with the Charlottesville seemed a little bit like out of control, didn't it? But some of them, they almost seem like they're staged. A bit like in the UK with the football hooligans, the police get between the, sort of block the street, like cut it in half, and then the two opposing sides like walk down the street, like shouting at each other. But if you put that on camera, it looks really hostile. But
it looks very different than the reality of what's happening. Yeah.
But the reality is it's one street, unless you go to that street. But I think on the London Underground, though, around Saturdays, when Arsenal play at home, it's a bit scary because you're underground and there's all these tunnels and things. And you can, if you're standing on a station, you can hear down the tunnels these sort of football supporters chanting, and you don't know where they are. So it feels like they're following you. Or you get on a train. One train I was on didn't pull out of the station because there were two sets of supporters in two carriages, and then the police were in between them on the train.
Wow.
And they were like fighting, through the doors that connect the carriages. But that's all just for a laugh, really. It's not really, it's not very serious. There's nothing behind it.
Right.
I mean, I think there's a lot of the writers. I doubt it. I mean, have they ever read a book?
Yeah.
What's like in their brain?
I don't know.
I think it's like they're often not even fighting about the issue. It's that normally, like I saw one video where this girl like took a lighter from somebody, and then she wouldn't give it back, and then they start fighting.
Yeah.
And that was like an Antifa riot.
That's my kids who are 6 and 7 years old. They fight like that. Give it back to
Yeah,
me.
the
No. And
remote.
then they start punching each other. You know what I mean? So
I suppose that just carries on into, life is basically just high school with money.
imagine, eh? Oh, I tell you, what's the world coming to? It's being run by the Rothschilds and who are the other people? The Rothschilds and
The
what's the
Illuminati.
well, yeah, no, the who are the two family? The Rothschilds and the oh, for fuck's sakes,
Rockefeller.
the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, the two R's and the Illuminati. You ever hear
Yeah.
about the Illuminati card game? It's coming into it. More and more people are starting to bring it up because it's supposedly telling the future. There's a game. It's a board game that was released by Steve Jackson Games. I believe it was in 1985, I think. Um, and it's a card game. You can buy it on. Oddly enough, you can buy it on Walmart, and it's the second edition. So the first edition is selling on eBay right now. I looked at it today. It was selling from anywhere between $600 to $2,500. So
What's
it's
it
hard to
called?
come by. What's that? The Illuminati card game?
Yeah, it's called Illuminati New World Order or something.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that what it's called?
Um the
I think.
it's Illuminati. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a card game. So it's played with a special deck of cards, money chips, which represents millions of dollars, and two six-sided dice. There's three types of cards: the Illuminati cards, the group cards, and the special cards. And then you take the role of these Illuminati and you struggle to take over the world. This was released in like I said, 1985, but it's based on a 1975 book actually by Robert Anton Wilson and Robert Shea. The book is called The Illuminatus Trilogy, and it's the book claims to be like such a satirical postmodern science fiction influenced adventure. It's got drugs and sex and magic and a number of conspiracy theories. Some real, historical, imaginary, and a whole bunch of stuff. So there is the main characters of the book, which I found very interesting actually. This is for all our Breaking Bad fans that are listening, and there's probably a lot because of a popular show. But one of the main characters throughout the trilogy of books, his name is a New York City detective. His name is Saul Goodman. Did you know that? So for those that don't, it's Saul Goodman. Yeah. Did you watch Breaking Bad?
Yes, I watched it. I watched the first few seasons.
Yeah.
But I didn't. I don't think I watched the last one very closely. I just I started to not believe that the teacher became like this hardcore like drug dealer.
Right.
But
Fair enough.
but
I
yeah,
mean,
the first
so
few seasons are really good.
yeah, it's an amazing show. I'm a big fan. But the high school teacher Walter White, his attorney that he hires his name is Saul Goodman, and
Oh yeah, and
yeah,
Better Call Saul.
Better Call Saul. That's right, absolutely, yeah,
The spin-off,
100%.
yeah, that lawyer character was funny in the
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So that Illuminati game, it did it like the thing that I saw was that it sort of didn't it predict like 9/11, COVID, and Trump winning or something?
So those three ones exactly right there. Allegedly, it predicted those. There's a card. Now it's a plane that looks seemingly like it's flying into two buildings, and I think it's called terrorist attack or something. And yeah, so it's coming out now that some of the things on this conspiracy theory game. So there's a conspiracy theory about the conspiracy theory Illuminati game that it's predicting events that are happening. So yeah, it's odd. What do you know about it?
Just that I saw, I saw that game, and I just noticed that it was, coming back into popularity. Like people are actually starting to play the game a lot more.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's readily available. You can buy it on Walmart. This is the second edition. You can buy it on Walmart. You can buy it on Amazon. Go to the game maker's website. It's available. But yeah, carry on.
But who do you think is like who's behind the game? It isn't it supposed to be that the Illuminati are actually behind the game?
No, it's I just said his name. I just closed the website. Steve something games.
Oh yeah, the guy, the maker of the game. He made a joke. He made a joke about that, about the Illuminati basically being behind the game.
That's right.
The Illuminati are behind everything.
That's right. His name's Steve Jackson. So
is that the guy who does those books? You know the
that's
book. I used to read those.
Isn't that Percy Jackson? Percy Jackson, I think.
Yeah.
So the card in question here is there's two office buildings, or what look like two office buildings, eerily similar to the same explosion that the Twin Towers on 9/11, and it's called the name of the card is called Terrorist Nuke. So yeah, I mean the game came out well before 2001, right? So
that's what I was going to say. This is before the War on Terror was made up.
That's right.
Okay. So and then there's remember in Back to the Future, the Libyans.
Yeah.
That storyline. Back then, terrorism wasn't really a huge thing, was it? You could just put it in a movie.
That's right. Even all those like Chuck Norris movies from the 80s, there wasn't one of the Rambo movies. Doesn't he work with Al Qaeda? I'm pretty sure he does.
Yeah, probably. Well, they were switching sides on. The U.S. supported Iraq against Iran.
That's right.
At some point, Iraq were kind of like the friends of the U.S.
That's right.
So it depends when the movie's made, I suppose, who the bad guys are.
Going back to that game, the Donald Trump card is the card is called Charismatic Leader. It features a blonde-haired demagogue addressing a crowd of adoring supporters in a seemingly uncanny forecast of the reality TV businessman rise to power.
And there hasn't really been any blonde politicians before Trump. He's extremely blonde.
I can't
or
think
his
of
wig is or whatever.
Yeah.
Why would you have a card with a blonde politician?
That's right.
You want to avoid the sort of Aryan look.
Yeah.
But it's the Illuminati card game, I suppose. Maybe I don't know.
There's a personality card with Hillary Clinton. It's named Hillary Clinton and it's her.
What?
Yeah.
When did that game come out?
1994.
1994.
Yeah.
Was she around at that time?
Oh yeah, her and what's her husband there,
Bill
Clinton, have been
she was Secretary
forever.
of State,
yeah. So there's a Hillary Clinton card in the deck and a tree-hugging Al Gore. They were U.S. First Lady and Vice President at the time. I guess that's right, 1994. Clinton was in office, right? It's an Iraqi dictator. Saddam Hussein makes an appearance, and there's a particularly gruesome card anticipating the advent of a militant political correctness. Now a regular bugbear on Fox News, which portrays the two-handed men holding signs announcing their crimes. It's interesting. And then of course there's an epidemic card. In which they're saying,
that's happened before, hasn't it? The plagues and stuff. Like I was never really aware of the Spanish flu and those type of things until COVID happened. But
of course,
it seems like every 100 years there's some kind of. I suppose I knew about the Black Plague.
You learn about it in school, right? But it's kind of like
Dickens.
It's interesting nonetheless. I mean, I would like to get the game just to see what it's all about, but it's expensive. It's about $40 for the game.
Is it one of those games where you have like a card? Is it like Top Trump, where you have a card which has like abilities and stuff, and then you put it down and say,
Yes.
I'll fight you based on I've got skill this at 10. What have you got?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Card. So it's just like a trading game.
Pretty much, from what I understand, that's what it is. It's got, you've got the cards and you got your dice and you take turns, and yeah, you have your power cards and my card's better than yours. Let's battle, blah blah blah, right? So
yeah, in the UK we had those cards, but we also had like a more rudimentary version. Like you ever heard of Conkers? You know that.
Maybe.
One of those things that fall out of trees, that are like chestnuts. Chestnut trees, the chestnuts fall out. They're quite big. They're like a ping pong ball, maybe a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
And they've got a shell. And if you leave them for a bit, they dry out and get really hard. We put them on strings, and then you use your conker to hit the other guy's conker, and back and forth until one of them breaks.
Yeah.
And you have a conker. I had a conker that had won like 113 times, and it was like a little rock, and all the skin had shattered off it, and it was just like on a bit of string, and it was like yellow, and I basically put super glue on it, so it was virtually indestructible. So
awesome.
It's sort of a bit like these trading games. You collect other, you're basically just building your conker to be like the greatest conker of all time. I don't know if they have that in the US.
They're like spiky, right? The shells.
Yeah, but inside there's a chestnut.
Yeah, so inside there's a chestnut.
Yeah, but what happens is they fall out and then they dry out and open, and then you can get that thing. And you find the best ones are the ones that have been like buried in the ground for a bit over the winter, and they're black. They go really hard. So we'd jump over into people's, they'd have these big houses and they'd have all these tonka trees or chestnut trees. We'd jump over the fence, and like scavenge all these tonkers looking for the best one, and then take a whole bag of them home. And then you basically train them. You treat them. Putting them in vinegar was one technique. You soak it in vinegar and it softens it, but it never breaks.
Yeah.
So you're basically training all these tonkers to be like Rocky or something.
Perfect.
Totally indestructible.
The things we did as children to pass the time. If we only had that much time now, right? I mean, Christ. I'd love it.
So it's very similar to what we're doing in life.
Well, yeah.
Hitting
the metaphor. Yeah. It's a metaphor. Well, Wasted, we probably wrap it up now. I think we covered everything that we were going to talk about.
Yeah.
It was a good day. It was a good day. It was a good show. I had fun.
Yeah, I mean, we kept it moving along, I think.
Yeah. All right. Do you want to say anything before we go? You got a show. You're still doing your Wasted podcast?
Yeah, you can check out the Wasted show on Rumble, and there's a couple of shows on YouTube now, but I don't really put too many of them up on there. I think there's a new one out today, but by the time this airs, there'll be another one which is more about the shock doctrine and natural born killers. I think that will be the episode.
Perfect.
You go there. Shock and awe, natural born killers.
Two of my favorite topics. I do enjoy the Wasted show. It goes by. It's you do a good job. I enjoy it, and I highly recommend anybody that's listening, if you don't already.
It's almost like a stream of consciousness, though. Sometimes it's a little bit drony because I don't have anybody to bounce off of.
Right.
So I sort of start, after 20 minutes of talking on my own, I start to flag a bit. I get a few things wrong. Like I said, Uma Thurman was, I got Uma Thurman and Daryl Hannah mixed up on one of the episodes.
Splash. Remember? Yeah, that was a good movie. Daryl Hannah was is she still alive?
Roller Girl. Yeah. She married Neil Young.
Daryl Hannah is married to Neil Young?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I didn't know that.
Oh, well, is Daryl Hannah the Splash, the mermaid?
Yeah. The woman from Splash,
She actually married him, but they were dating, and I think he married him.
Wow. All right.
But he fell from grace a little bit in the COVID era.
He did. He's an idiot. He's an idiot. He's just another fucking old hippie. You know what I mean? Eccentric old hippie that has money and still wears patchouli oil. Like,
he also did something weird didn't he do something with Spotify? Like he took his
music off. Spotify? Yeah, because of Joe Rogan. Like, it's fucking stupid. But
it's hard to understand what they're talking about. They seem very scared of like authoritarian like people or right wing. They've got this idea that right wing means Hitler or authoritarianism.
Yeah.
When it's almost like the opposite, you know? Or I mean, Hitler was a national socialist. He was supposed to be a socialist.
Yeah. They were the Nazi Party was a socialist party, but it's not the same socialist parties that we know now. But yes, you're right. Exactly. Exactly. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like I said, he's just a fucking old hippie that got rich, right? And you know.
Yeah.
I
think they built up the idea of Trump in their head as well.
Yeah, of course.
Like,
of course.
He's a cheesy, like 80s businessman but really he's like very kind of harmless, like what he does. He does dumb stuff,
he does fucking stupid shit, man.
You know, it's not like he's not like running guns or
no.
You know,
he's just an idiot.
Pedophile rings or something.
Yeah.
He's just he just wants to like eat burgers and like have blonde. It's like he's the authoritarian, and then when he gets the presidency, they say he's like this like dictator, but he can't get anything done, and they bury him in the ground.
Yeah. Oh, perfect.
The opposite of a dictator.
Yeah.
You know, the dictator with zero power.
That's right. Oh well. All right, Wasted. I'm gonna wrap it up. Thanks for coming on. Again, The Wasted Show, find it on Rumble. It's a great listen if you don't already listen to it. And of course, my other show, The Cookout, we just did a episode, so it should be up on the channel pretty soon. I'll get this up right away. And thanks to everybody. Hit like and subscribe, because that's what we want to do. And we'll go from there. So until next time, Wasted, it's always a pleasure. Let's do it again real soon, right?
Yeah. See you later.
See ya.